Well, good morning, folks. It is Tuesday, the 22nd. And we made a little more progress out here yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, found a few hours and probably 3 to 4 hours, somewhere in there. And cut those off. Remember these? Were like this up here, and they held up the back of the motor. So they gone. Both of them is gone. Cut them off with the Sawzall, like that. Here, let's put a little light on the subject. Cut them off with the Sawzall, and that's what it looks like when they're cut off. There you go. So there's a fair amount of work left at that point. You've got to get rid of all the rest of those remnants, grind the welds off. And I'm using a combination of the cutoff disc and the grinding wheels, the different grinding wheels, the flapper disc and the hard disc, to end up with that. It's not perfect. I mean, you can see a little area there where one of those fasteners used to be. And I probably could grind that. I might grind that a little more. I just don't want to take too much material off. Now, obviously, we could fill it if we wanted to go to the trouble. And I'm not sure if we're going to go to the trouble. And there's the transmission mount, the rear cross member transmission mount bracket that's tacked up there. There's one there, and there's one there. And so I'm going to work on that now. See if I can get that to look like the, or a little better, hopefully, than the other side. So let's see what happens. Bye. Okay. Well, after about an hour and a half, this is what we have to show. See, all that stuff's gone that was up there. All those remnants. Quite a bit of metal on the floor. But I think that side came out better than the first side, which I guess you should expect if you're paying attention. Anyway, I'm happy about that. That gives us a nice path for exhaust, kind of unobstructed on both sides. So anyway, onward and upward, I guess. See ya. Here's the clutch cross shaft bracket getting welded to the frame where that nasty hole used to be. It's tacked on the frame right now. Come on, focus. No light here right now. Hello there. Well, another weekend's gone by, actually a long one. And we made a little progress here. We spent maybe a day and a half, and got a lot less, made a lot less progress than we expected to. We worked on the clutch linkage, all this stuff here, cross shaft, and the pedal assembly. And when we got it all together, we put this in, did everything as accurately as we could. There's a lot of variables on these things. The frames aren't all the same width. And you know, over all the years, the body mounts get changed, maybe whatever. The body sits a little higher off the frame or whatever. So things don't work like they're supposed to. You see we're patching a hole there where there's a strut rod that goes from here up inside to the clutch pedal. And we get it all together, those two things don't line up. The shaft coming out from the clutch pedal doesn't line up with that hole. You can't put the bolt in there because it conflicts. The shaft hits the bottom of the hole in the firewall. So what we're going to do is plug that hole and re-drill it lower. Thought about all kinds of different corrections for that situation, and this seems to be the least amount of negative results. You know, we could extend the arm on the linkage either inside or outside. Actually, inside you shorten it, outside you lengthen it, and that changes the geometry on the clutch linkage. And it might change the throw on that arm, so it might hit the steering box. There's all kinds of mites that could happen. So just modifying the shape of the hole in the firewall appears to be the best solution for that problem. But I mean, that set us back quite a while. What we did actually this morning, I made a temporary fixture to support the back of the motor so that I could take the transmission out and the rear cross member out. And you notice we're using a mock-up motor here that had no crank in it. We wanted to put the clutch together and kind of attack it from the back end. Well, without a crank, you can't hardly do that. So I had to go dig up the crank, which meant taking the transmission out, which meant supporting the back of the motor. So we did all of that, put the clutch in this morning, put the transmission in, only to find out there was no pilot bushing in the end of the crank. Evidently, this motor never had a standard transmission behind it, and that didn't much matter to us, but it did make it harder to line up the clutch disc with the input shaft on the transmission and all that stuff, so we fought that in. But anyway, getting that together really didn't solve it. It told us that solving the problem was going to happen from that end, and there was no we really didn't create any problems. It's just one of those situations where you know, as much as you try to design and engineer this stuff, the cars are a little different. So when you make hundreds of pieces, one or two of them ain't going to fit a car here and there. I'm really happy with the stuff. It's Williams Classic Chassis, Earl Williams Classic Chassis. Stuff is really nice. See, here's the pedal, the new clutch pedal on the support. The support runs up there under the dash. That we took all of that out. That already supports the brake pedal. Well, now it supports the brake and the clutch pedal, and it also actually hangs the front of the steering column, the driver's end of the steering column. So anyway, that's, like I said, it's really nice stuff. It's just like I say, you try and make this stuff to fit all these cars, and the cars aren't all the same, so it doesn't always work. But anyway, that's where we ended up after this weekend. So now we're going to patch that hole in the firewall and drill it lower. That's what it needs. The hole, the shaft was hitting the bottom of the hole, so the hole needs to be made lower, and that ought to solve our clutch linkage problems, and then we'll move on. I'm not sure what we were talking about actually putting the steering column in. I mean, at this point, it probably makes good sense before we finish anything to try and put it all together, make sure it all fits before it's finished, rather than fighting with finished stuff that you don't want to damage. So I get the feeling that might be a smart thing to do. So here we are. Here's another week, a little bit more progress. Goes kind of slow, but I guess the thing to do is just keep after it. All right, talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.